Your skill has increased. Your skill has increased. Your skill has increased.
Number 1000.
Holy fuck.
Alright, enough for the break, back to the grind. Whenever I get to talk
Wow.
about the Riot MMO, I have to be wary of the fact that the
Wonder how
people
many videos I've made. I have no idea.
who like these videos the most do not come from League of Legends.
Yep.
In fact, believe it or not, but most of that audience comes from World of Warcraft. Not only is this apparent by the amount of
Okay, yeah, there it is.
WoW creators reacting to my videos, which I'm totally fine with, but
Hi.
also, here is a more statistical proof. And so, for all of you who
Wait,
came
what's
here,
this?
here is a more
Wow, I think.
Your skill has increased.
statistical proof. And so, for all of you who came here from outside the normal sphere, if we want to talk about what happened to Riot's MMO, we have to talk about the big news that arrived from League's narrative team. It all started last week with a new drop from League's dev team, where outside of the normal news drops and new champion teasers, after a very long time, we got an update on what is happening to League's lore. For all of you who are unaware, for the last year and a half, the lore of League of Legends got essentially frozen. With the last story that would expand the League of Legends universe, which is not connected to a new champion release, being released in June 2022. After which, without any announcements, League's lore just stopped getting updated. And from that point on, the only development on this universe we got were new cards from Legends of Runeterra, as well as 2 new games from Riot Forge. Which
I played that one, the Mage Seeker game. It was pretty good.
still
Your skill
sounds
has increased.
good enough, but for context, on top of that, in the past, we used to get about 20 or 30 short stories per year. So
Wow.
naturally, over time, the lore community went through the 7 stages of grief, starting with frustration and ending with acceptance. And eventually, after that very long time, we finally got an update.
Okay.
It
what
was
is
an
it?
update that on paper didn't seem that big, but
Sure.
in fact it is so significant that I turned those 2 minutes of news into a 30-minute long video.
That's impressive. That's a... Alright.
Among these short news, we
That's
learned
content.
that Riot is dropping short stories. Because truth be told,
Okay.
people are too lazy to read and almost nobody engaged with them. Which
That is... You know what? I believe that. Yeah. I believe that. For sure. Nobody read the shit.
even though my job used to rely on those, I have to agree with it. These days, if a story is not narrated, people won't care.
Right.
I mean, look at today's youth. They won't stand a narrated video if it is over 10 seconds long. So instead, Riot will
Well,
focus
you
their...
have to have, guys, you have, in order to have people's attention, you have to have
Your
a
skill
person
has increased.
talking with like a hot girl in the video, and then above her, it's like a guy driving a car in a video game, and he's just like driving a car randomly. And like that's the level of stimulation that you
Your
need
skill
to
has
hold
increased.
somebody's attention nowadays.
stories onto the bigger projects. be it bigger cinematics or gameplay events. But this is also connected to another big piece of information. The one that from now on, everything that comes out from League's IP will be canon in one unified universe. Because
No, that's good. I really hope they don't go with a multiverse. I feel like any game that goes with a multiverse, I'm like, okay. So you gave up. Oh, I see. So you're giving up now.
Those of you who don't know, that is not how the lore used to function. League of Legends used to be a bit more like a multiverse. Now, I have never seen the Avengers in my life, but from what I've been told, it functions a little bit like the MCU. The core canon universe.
Well, the MCU works really well, and everything in the MCU is canon. It's all in basically the same universe, and it makes sense. The only reason they had to do a multiverse for Marvel is because there were comics wrote 40 years ago that don't make sense today.
Is the one that was connected to League of Legends.
Oh, by the way, guys, in case you didn't know, the MCU ended in, I think it was 2019, whenever Avengers Endgame came out. That was the last Marvel movie that came out. They stopped making them after that.
Its lore came from a website called Universe, which is where you can also find the interactive map. But from this core universe, you had other versions that would branch out.
Right.
For example, Arcane was never canon in the core universe.
I thought it is now.
In fact, the differences in the stories between Arcane and League of Legends are quite big. Which...
Wait, so is Arcane canon or not? I thought it was. It is now. Okay, all right.
Is why the video where I explained those differences was so popular. But on the other side, we also had Legends
Your skill
of
has
Runeterra,
increased.
a card game rooted in League's universe, which also brought up things which were never mentioned in the core universe. And so, Legends of Runeterra was also considered a different version of the core universe.
Sure.
But now, with the news we were given, it was confirmed that all of these are being united.
Wow.
So that everything can be canon.
Well,
now,
that's
of
good.
course, this would mean that some parts of some of the universes have to be retconned.
Oh, we can keep
because
that.
only one true version of the story has to make it through. Which is why, in some parts, there is a little bit of a confusion in the community.
Sure.
But in fact, it was confirmed that Arcane is now fully canon,
Holy
with
shit.
Legends of Runeterra being second in priority. Because
Right.
it was confirmed that the vast
Oh, this guy
majority
was
of
in
that
that
game
game.
is already in line with the new universe. Which means that these two together will overwrite everything else that came from the core universe. Now, I understand that all of this
Things I hate about MMORPGs. You know what I hate? Pay to win. Like, I want to just be able to play a game where you don't know how much money somebody spent on the game by looking at them or by anything about them being in the game. That's what I want. That's the main thing.
MMORPGs can, at times, be really fun games,
Oh, bro, I hated
banding
that
together with large groups of players doing epic stuff like fighting dragons, sieging cities, and hunting down legendary
skill has
loots to
increased.
spike your dopamine.
Oh.
However, as someone that's
That
been
was a
covering
purple.
MMOs on YouTube for the past 8 years, I've realised that a lot of them have similar problems. Oftentimes when I'm doing my first impression pros and cons list, a lot of the cons for one MMO could be directly applied to another MMO, and it's made me realise that there's certain
Your skill
things
has
MMOs
increased.
do that really piss me off. So today I'm going to have a bit of a rant about all of the things that I hate about MMORPGs. But first, today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is a completely free mobile RPG with over 80 million global players worldwide. The game features top-notch graphics and offers both casual and competitive gaming, where players can collect over 700 unique champions, customize them, fight in-game bosses,
I want to play Raid Shadow Legends without a sponsor. And I want to actually just play the game and see what it's really like. Because I feel like nobody actually knows what the game is like. Nobody has any real idea. It's just that like the game's been around for so long and everybody knows about Raid Shadow Legends, but a lot of people have never actually played it, right? Like you just know, oh, it's probably pay to win, you know, meme game or whatever. I kind of want to actually play the game, non-sponsored, no bullshit, and give it an honest shot.
Or compete in
Actually
real-time
try,
battles
just
in
to
the
see
arena.
what happens.
Raid is now increasing its roster of awesome-looking champions with a brand new rarity, Mythical, a step above legendary champions. These new mythical champions have a special new mechanic called Metamorph that allows them to change between two different forms. This transformation grants them a fresh appearance, new abilities, and enhanced skills. Mythical champions are summoned from primal shards, and both of their forms utilize the same gear and skills, so make sure to check out the new update, and if you click my link or scan the QR code on screen, you'll also get a free starter pack with a bunch more in-game loot. And on top of that, if you log into Raid on 7 different days between August 22nd and October 23rd, you will also get the legendary champion Sun Wukong for free. Click the link in the description below to download Raid Shadow Legends now. Inventory management and tedious looting. One thing that makes me want to instantly quit an MMO.
I hate inventory management as well. It adds no value to a game. So there are games that I think do create a value of inventory management. Rust, Valheim kind of, and that's about it that I can think of. Oh yeah, Diablo 2. With like the different, like, I think you can get like runes and like buffs you can put in your inventory. Yeah, charms. But yeah, so yeah, that matters.
Is if it becomes quickly obvious that I'll need to spend a significant amount of time sorting through my inventory, whether it be from straight up running out of space after a few minutes of killing mobs, or the game just bombarding me with useless items to fill up my bags that don't really need to exist. Some games do this to sell you more inventory space. Others do it because the devs don't play their own game enough to realise it's an issue. I've played some MMOs where you're also expected to loot every item from each individual mob kill, and I just end up asking myself why. Are the profits...
Well, there's always... No, the reason why is that you have developers that put things into games because they think it's a good idea, and they never listen to any feedback from other people, except people that like 100% are like bought into the game no matter what.
Generated from selling inventory space and pets worth the game being so significantly
Your skill has increased
with such design? I'm honestly not sure.
Pets, I think that buying, like if you have a buy to play game like Black Desert and auto looting pets, I don't think that's a big deal. Maybe this is an unpopular take, but like if you have a game that's being continuously developed without people paying for it continuously, I think that a small, like, capped subscription-esque service like the Crystalline Aura and Lost Ark is acceptable. I don't find this to be problematic or bad because I just view it as a softer form of the subscription that WoW has.
Black Desert Online is an example of an MMO where you get so many random event items and useless outgated gear drop that it makes you want to uninstall.
Yeah,
Lost Ark is another one. Even with the loot filter, your bags are rammed after 2 Chaos dungeons. Then you've got to spend time deciding if what's drop is worth selling or not, alongside having to
It's not worth selling. No matter what you get, it's not very good.
Constantly have like 2 rows of your inventory constantly filled with battle items. Before adding an item to the game, I wish devs would ask themselves the following questions.
Why?
1. Does this item really need to exist? 2. Could this item be stored in its own separate inventory that the player doesn't need to deal with?
And that is something that Lost Ark does better than any MMO on the market, in my opinion, that at least I've played. Is that Lost Ark's separate inventory system for storing items like gathering items and different types of like random knickknacks and bullshit that you're able to get from islands. I think they do an incredibly great job at that. Like Lost Ark is the best at that I've played at least. But it's the other stuff that's the problem. Consumables is soon. Oh, there you go. Rapport, sailing, islands, yeah, all that stuff is a separate inventory that is created for you. It's great.
And 3, does adding this item take the player out of the gameplay to make a decision as to whether or not the item is useless and needs to be destroyed? Personally, I hate having to squint my eyes reading and spending time trying to figure out if the stuff in my inventory is useful. This is made easier though when games display an estimated value for the item right from the inventory,
yeah, that's true.
Or do some kind of UI pop-up alerting me that I've received a rare drop that I should care about.
You're a winner!
Looting should be a dopamine spike and an exciting exciting moment in an MMO, so games that fuck this up are clearly doing something wrong.
No, I agree.
Having to dig through external sources to search for a build. Let's be honest, almost every MMO nowadays requires that you go to an external website to search for a viable build for your class.
I think that another big problem of this is actually a meta problem that MMOs begin at endgame. Because like classic WoW, you have people that do this, but it's probably more intuitive because number one, there's less knobs to turn, but the other reason is that it takes a long time to level up. Whenever it's like Lost Ark, you get the Express, Omega, Super, Mokoko, Fast, Power Pass, and you're going all the way up to 1490. Oh my god! And now you've got to deal with tripods, gems, weapon levels, skill points, fucking enchants, engravings, the fucking skill icon, the things that like empower your skills. You have to deal with the skills itself, the different abilities, how the awakening goes. You have the resources to use the awakenings.
Your
And
skill
you're
has
learning
increased.
all of this stuff within a matter of like hours of starting the game. Who the fuck is going to be able to do that? And it's like, yes, Lost Ark has a pretty good job, does a pretty good job at kind of creating like presets. But even the presets are overwhelming.
Your skill has increased.
And the problem why this happens is because people are thrown into these end games and these MMOs that begin at max level and they skip everything else. You don't learn through leveling which abilities are useful and which ones play well because you start at max level. That's why it happens. That's a big reason why it happens. That's not the only reason.
MMOs are so imbalanced that not playing a viable build will either get you kicked from groups, not invited, or struggle to clear content. For me, I just want to get into the action as quickly as possible, so if I need to spend a lot of time digging through builds on Google, reading pages upon pages of information, then spend a lot of time in-game actually implementing said build through the UI, or buying 30 different components off the auction house, by the time I'm ready to
I am so fucking sick of what the cookie cutter meta has done to MMORPGs since I was sick of it in 2006. Back before you were born. I'm dead serious. Back before you were born, I was sick of it. I'm way sick of it now. I refuse to do it. If I like a kitty cat claw build on Elden Ring, you know, then I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna Rivers of Blood with 15 fucking buffs or whatever that you saw on YouTube, so you think it's the meta just because one dude tells you that it's the meta. But trust me, I'll stomp that dude in most of the time, DPS or PvP or otherwise.
To actually play the game,
As soon as you become predictable, you're done.
I'm already annoyed.
Yes.
Why don't more MMOs just do us a favour and implement community-voted builds right into the UI, similar to what Dota 2 does?
I actually don't think that's the solution. I think the solution is creating a game that's fulfilling, that teaches players throughout the game.
Your skill has increased.
Like, how many of you guys have had the experience of whenever you're playing a new game, like, let's say in WoW, you boost a new character, and you don't really enjoy the character whenever you boost it, because there's so much new stuff that it's overwhelming. Like, you have to take in all of this stuff at the same time, and it takes the enjoyment away from it. Yeah, there's no attachment, you didn't earn these spells. I really don't think it's a good idea. I can see what he's saying. I think for something like Dota it makes sense, but for an MMO, I think this is a symptom and not a disease. And the disease is the fact that games start in game and players don't have the opportunity to learn progressively.
Your skill has increased.
Game in a natural way.
Recrafters could receive rewards for getting a certain amount of upvotes, builds would be more up to date, and FFXI Life's legal view botting would be less effective. Daily chores and time gates. A mistake we've seen quite a few MMO devs make over the years is implementing daily systems combined with time gates that make players feel like they need to work through a list of chores every day before getting to the content that they actually want to do. I can understand why devs think this way.
I think that dailies in games are okay. I think the problem is whenever dailies become pseudo mandatory. Like you basically have to do your dailies on a lot of these characters or a lot of these games because like they're like a massive chunk of progress. Like your first 2 Chaos Dungeons, your first 2 Guardians, and this is being changed, right? But like on Lost Ark is a good example of this, or like with WoW, like, you know, getting reputation. The problem is not necessarily, and it's also especially because like it's endless, right? So like for WoW, whenever you're doing your Netherwing dailies, there will be an end to that. You will get your Netherwing Drake, and then you can stop doing them. But the problem is with something like Lost Ark, this is a job that you go to, and you never retire.
You want to retain players and give them a reason to log in every day, but from the player's point of view, it makes them burn out of the game way quicker than just having more flexibility.
Yeah, I actually am a big fan of having daily content for players to do. I am not a big fan of creating pseudo-mandatory daily content that forces engagement metrics that have no end in sight to them. Like, for example, the Una's tasks for a lot of the islands in Lost Ark, I think are totally fine, because I do them, and then they're done. I got the Astray, I was gonna say horse, ship in Lost Ark. I have the Astray. And you know what? I don't do the Black Fang daily anymore because I feed it.
What usually happens is players will do the chores for a few weeks, then they'll miss a day, then another, and eventually ask themselves, if I'm spending half of my playtime doing chores that I don't really find fun, then why am I playing in the first place?
I actually think that the psychology is a little bit different, and maybe I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. But for me, the psychology is that I don't want to miss a daily or I'll be behind. And then eventually I miss a daily and I'm behind. And then I think I don't want to keep playing the game, I'm behind. That's my psychology.
Then they quit. This has happened to me with a few MMOs in the past. The first one that comes to mind was Arcade Unchained when it...
No, this is okay, because Arcade 2 is going to be great. It's not going to have any pay to win in it at all. It's just going to be great gameplay with no problem.
First release.
Yeah,
Your score has
right.
increased.
The game progression system was tied to dailies and weeklies that rewarded you with scrolls to upgrade your gear. I did it for a few weeks and very quickly it made me sick of the game despite actually having fun with other content outside of that. Another MMO that made me burn out quite fast with its dailies at
Bro, look who it is. It's Birdass.
release was Lost Ark. I think I kept up with the daily, weekly grind for 2 months, then I took a week off and felt a massive weight off my shoulders. I think most of us have enough daily chores to deal with in the real world, so adding to that list of chores as a game, which is supposed to be an escape...
I think that...
So I have this impression that I think everybody thinks I just sit in front of this television all day. But just today, I did this both yesterday and today. I moved 200 pounds worth of squash and pumpkins and whatever you call those, jack-o'-lanterns and stuff, gourds, right? Stuff from the gourd family for my family. I moved it inside through a window. You get an idea that I'm not making this up. I moved a bunch of fucking, gourds. It was like 200 pounds worth of gourds over, about an hour period over 2 days for my family, so that they wouldn't die to the freeze, And that gives you an example. Not every day is like that for me, but generally it is. I feel very blessed when I don't have to go do at least like half an hour, if not an hour of work each day, just to keep my real life from falling apart. Nope.
Again, it's the problem is that it never ends. You just constantly have this non-stop. You should only feel bad for playing a game because you missed out on fun. Yeah, something like that.
From reality is pretty much always a bad idea. Remember the days when making gold in an MMO was actually something you'd need to think about?
Well, yeah, now you just pay the money. I mean, it's pretty easy, right? I mean, shit, like, what else? Yeah, you just, oh, you need gold? Okay, well, just spend money. Just spend real money, and then you get gold. Problem solved. But do you guys kind of agree with me on that? Like, I think that dailies are okay. The problem is, like,
Your
these
skill has
endless
increased.
dailies that never stop. You never have to stop grinding. I think dailies are totally okay, and it's like there's a reason why every game has dailies, right? It's because they work for player engagement. They do. Problem is Koreans put up with that crap and we don't. So Korean MMOs are crap. I don't think I think that to an extent, yeah, sure, but like, you have to remember, like, Koreans are really upset about Lost Ark 2 for the same reasons. They were the ones that were mad. Remember, Smilegate did that whole apology stream in Korean. They didn't do it in English.
Feeling of getting a rare drop and being excited because of how valuable it was. Leveling up your crafting
My
and
mom used to farm those all the time. Oh, you probably...
Like, I'm sorry, I know that's a Korean company, so it just translated to English and it translated badly, so it's unfair. But I think they should have thought about the PR a little bit when they translated it and took the IP or whatever. Because Smilegate sounds like some kind of devil sitting between you and smiling. It sounds like a mix of Pizzagate or fucking Gamergate. Except it's Smilegate, like you can't smile, or the gacha costs more money, you know?
You guys probably didn't see it. Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, she used to farm these like fucking crazy. I remember she had the blue one. She would always farm the blue ones because they would sell for the most. Oh my god. And then they had like these eggs, and she would park characters out and log on them every day and farm the eggs on a timer. And she had, like, my mom had the equivalent of, like, this isn't like classic WoW and like Burning Crusade. She had the
Your
equivalent
skill
of, like,
has increased.
nowadays, probably like 35 million gold. I'm not even kidding. It was insane. It was so much that, like, I forgot about this.
I was a whelpling farmer like his mother, and I was always mega rich too. I never had a problem with money. I was one of the first epic flying mounts in my guild, Exodus. Or, sorry, back then Eximos would have been Eximos. And yeah, I just... Yeah, oh, did you fuck up my progress here? Yeah, you did. What did you do? Piece of shit.
Your skill has increased.
I was like enjoying a video and you just like killed it. You fucking killed it. You fucking... I'm sorry. Okay, so I was gonna say I was a whelpling farmer. I went for the one in Badlands, the red, and then the green one in Manethil because Alliance could get to both. Well, you get either one easy, but the green one. I'm sorry, no, the green one was Horde. The red and the I think it was yellow one were I don't know. It's been a while, but I think farm 13 whelplings at like back then it was like 450 gold, which these days would be 450,000 gold, you know? So, and I pay for all of my priest gear. I never liked doing the raids for the gear. I like buying the BOEs. Stone of Jordan. Sorry, Staff of Jordan. Rings. Cape. I went to the World Dragons and ended up raiding, but... Need to find a, like, something to charm. I'll just go over here. It's good to see other people. So, yeah. And the Whelplings were how I made my money at that age, too. In Classic, it was the Whelplings, and then Tier's Hand, there was mobs, elite mobs out there that could solo on my Priest and my friend's Rogue, Holy Father. I'm sorry, my friend's Rogue named Holy Father. And that Rogue really made me a lot of money. And yeah, just Tier's Hand and those Whelplings, and I sold enchants. I would buy greens at level 41 to 45, and I would crack them into lesser and greater nether essences, and then I would sell the enchants. Only 3 different, well, later on it was like 5 different enchants, but sold Fieries a lot, so I was always after Crusader Orbs. I ran a lot of Strathome, Scarlet, or SM, and no, just that, dead size Strathome, and then I was always after enchant stuff, so I was down, and eventually I retired selling air. I sold enchant weapon +7 agi, or sorry, enchant 2-hand weapon agi, and enchant 1-hand weapon agility. And then later on, like it was different enchants, but that was annoying because you had to get 4 essences of air and like a Crusader Orb, if I remember, and I would sell Fieries and stuff, and I would make a lot of money. So I would stand out there in front of the auction house in Iron Forge, and I would spam a paragraph of things. And I would sell enchants, and they would come and open trade. I'd be like, open trade with me, and I'll just do your enchant. And I'd stand there in a line with forms sometimes, and then people would be waiting for me. And I'd be like, all right, run speed the boots, run speed the boots, run speed the boots, fiery, Crusader. The Paladins would just run out Crusader. Or not a lot of people would do, not Paladins at that time, but a lot of people did Crusader a lot. And then in... what's it called? TBC, I did all those dailies. The Netherwing Drake, I was one of the first on the venture company to get the Netherwing Drake. There was only about 200 of us that were active on that. Like, I think there was like 4,000 people on the server. Only 200 of us were actually like up at that level. Maybe 3 or 4 guilds, I think, and as I remember, one of them became a really big guild later called Perseverance. Yeah, it came from the venture company, I believe. But anyways, so we always kind of knew them. But yeah, and that's how I made my money in TBC, was just all those dailies to Netherwing. It paid for my Epic Flight. I had all this gold left over from Classic. I sold enchants all the time, And I farmed a lot, and I got Lore Master and all that stuff, and I ran for Ashes of Lar and all this. And, yeah. And then in Wrath, it was enchants. I sold a lot of enchants. And then in Kata, it was enchants. I was an enchant slinger I would disenchant. There was this point around the end of TBC where I didn't even leave the town to go make money anymore. All these other people had to use mods like Trade Skill Master and stuff like 5 years later. But by 2008, I was sitting in Shatrath just disenchanting wholesale off the auction house long before they had made mods. And I did ride Decursive, or not Decursive. Yeah, was it Decursive? Yeah, I think it was Decursive. Decursive also had a thing that would tell you what disenchants you had a chance of getting. And I really liked that mod a lot. Fuck, I went too far. Son of a bitch. Yeah, and just interesting. And then the real breakthrough for me was Mop. I level Rogue and Hunter, and I went to the Sky Valley above 7 stars, and I would farm Golden Lotus, and I would sling flasks. And I would skin the Elic hordes, the Elic and goat herds and stuff to mass skin really fast on my Worgen Hunter, and I made a lot of money then. In Kata, it was like dailies and enchants, And then finally WOD hit, and that was when I did pull. Before this was like usually possible even. I pulled like 2 million gold, and I paid for 24 WoW tokens, which is 2 years of WoW subscriptions. And I'm very proud of that. It's one of my things that I really am very proud of. I don't think most of those WoW players were skilled enough to go 2 whole years without paying a sub. But I've done this on EVE Online. I've done it on WoW. I'm good enough at the games. I mean, I do this for so hard and so focused and so long due to the Asperger's that I was always rich. I had personal empires on every game, you know? Juicy do all them drugs, you know what I'm saying?
It was so much that, like, so
I forgot about this. My mom helped me pay for my epic flying mount. Zach, Mikwaribi. She comes over and she asks Zach, when's your birthday? And he says, oh, it's in, like, you know, some month that was during the school year. And Zach was only down for, you know, the summer vacation. She says, oh, well, you won't be here. I guess I'll just give you your birthday present early. Here, log on. I'm going to pay for your epic flying mount. And she just straight up bought his epic flying mount.
I've done that before too. I bought like 5 people's epic mounts. Just recently, like 4 years ago, I gave my friend a minstrel's earring and a pole grip on Nasomi FFXI private server. That was 2 million just because she helped me level towards 75 so much during COVID. I was like, thanks for being my friend, and I gave her a pole grip and a minstrel's ring on Nasomi, and the total value of that was 2.6 million gil. Or no, I'm sorry, pole grip was worth a lot more than that later. It was worth like 1. Minis was worth 750. Pole grip was worth between 1.4 and 2.6, depending on, well, it ranged up and down. Pole grip, when I bought it, was 790, but by the time I gave her one that I had actually got as a drop, it was like that on a BCNM Worm Turns. I took her to Worm Turns and I gave her the pole grip that dropped. And like I mean, that shit back in the day in like 2007, that pole grip and that fucking minstrel's ring, that would have changed my life in a fundamental way where I'm not even sure I would have been living with my parents anymore. If I had had that kind of luck back then, I never had the luck. Later on, I learned that I was never, ever going to get the drops. I went like 350 on Ashes of Lar and 350 on Magister's Terrace for the Swift White Hawkstrider. I was a bit of a pet collector and a mount collector, so I realized that I had the worst luck in all of WoW history. I was significantly pulling 100, 200 more runs than anybody else was, and they would see me in there and they'd be like, you don't have that fucking pet yet, and I'm like, nah man, I'm the worst one was 267 runs in Magister's Terrace for the Swift White Hawkstrider. I never ground another mount again. I never ground because it was 40 minutes each run. I did 267 40-minute runs. People think, you know, having 4,000 hours on Rust is crazy. Dude, no. Like try camping King Behemoth for an entire week, or Circuit all day, or Labyrinth of Von Zozo for 2 days, or Argus for like 3 weeks and shit. I'm talking 3 weeks real life. I'm not talking about like in the game. I'm talking about like sit there, do nothing all day long for 3 weeks fucking straight trying to get some fucking drop or whatever. Those are the old days. And like, so like, you know, and they'd be like, Jesus, you don't have the Ashes of Lar yet. I got mine after 110. No, motherfucker. I'm at like 190. Don't ask me about it. Oh, did you get your Peacock Amulet yet on Nasomi? No, I did 39 runs though. Everyone else got theirs in 15, 20. Took me 39 when I quit. And you got to understand, that's a 6-hour run each time. 39 6-hour runs, because that's not 6 hours, it's 3. Every BCNM run is 6 people's 25-minute runs. So, I mean, it really is like 3 hours, I'm not kidding. So, yeah, like, fuck, I forget how many times it was. It was like 39. It was like 39 times I ran under observation. I ran UO like 39 times on his Sony because he didn't have the drop rates set right at all. He didn't want that server to become shit, and it didn't either. I mean, it was designed badly, but it wasn't done badly. And yeah. And, you know, and now I look back and I'm like, Jesus Christ, giving away a minstrel's ring and a pole grip in the middle of Tau era when that's just worth like 2.2 million and shit like that. Back in the day, that was like a king's ransom for me. It was like literally, like I wasn't like that after I got in Sky and I started selling cashmere and I was a clock crafter. I started selling, I went and did the Silk Road. I did Silk for a long time. I would use to grind crawlers however I could get them. I would bribe, cajole, and steal from my friends for silk thread. And I would convert it to silk cloth, and I would sell. I would buy, every day I would wake up and I would buy 39,000 in silk thread, and I would sell it for 64 in silk cloth. And the crystal expenditure was like, I don't know, like 8K or something. So it was like not good math, but you didn't have to leave town, and it was good math when you did it a lot. You know, it was really good math when you did it a lot. And so yeah, after the Silk Road, I had just enough to get to 106 cloth crafting, and I started working in the Sha'ir set, which is the set that you pull off Kashmir and stuff off Kirin and Sky. People wonder why I'm called Sky Cat Live. It's because of Sky. I was the cat that sat in Sky for 4 solid years. So people called me Sky Cat. And, you know... And so, yeah, I hear about this stuff about, like, oh, I got, like, a few whelplings and stuff. Oh, man, I got 13 over my career. I got, like, I was 7 out of 13 Emperor's hairpins. I've been, like, 7 Leaping Lizzie boots or something like that. I don't know how many attempts. A lot. Oh, God. I've pulled Humaju Torrent probably 1,200 times. And I probably pulled, like, 65 Monster Signas and sold them for, like, 165 to 265 each. I've definitely pulled like 40 Mary's horns. I didn't go for leaping boots and hairpin like everybody else did because they were all rogues and stuff. I didn't like competing with them because they had flea. I liked competing with the bards at Humaju the Torrent for Monster Signa, and you know the sheep for Mary the sheep for you know, what's the Mary's flute. Yeah, and I can still do that now to this day. I was doing that shit in 2007, and right now I could go do that again right now, like fucking 16 years later or whatever. I could still go do those same things right now. It's still the same time loss. You see how long the run speed is? It's just crazy. So like, you know, I think about drop rate, and I would look at Wowhead and they would say 4.6%, or no, they would say less than that. They say like 2.6% on a Emerald Whelpling, and we literally were able to use mob info to track like how many kills you had and what your drop rate was on stuff. And literally, I always had sometimes triple the amount of elite pulls. Name mobs. I had like triple the number of name mobs in WoW than any of my other friends. I had triple the mini pets. I had triple the mounts. And I'm also crazy, so I'll just throw away a fortune in a fucking second because I just don't value it. For me, it's the journey to the destination. And I tend to be mega rich, not in real life, because I just don't care to have money in real life. I've been targeted so badly when I was poor. I can't imagine what it's like when you're rich. I can't even... I mean, I finally got peace at the age of 39 when I moved to where I live now. It took me 39 years to get peace. And I was broke for the last 20 of that. And it did not help. I don't think money would help. I do not believe money would help. And so I don't go strive for it in real life, but in the games I'm always mega rich. Like for instance, just this year, in like March. I was just dealing with this today. Like, I logged on a level 60 character on Final Fantasy 11, which isn't nothing. Oh shit! Attack him! Attack him! Come on, man! Attack him! Come on, man! Attack him! Nope, nope. Just run. Maybe the leash or something. I don't know. Sorry, guys. Targeting from piece of shit games like Dark Souls 1 and Final Fantasy 11, you know, games that were released in the early 2000s. Targeting isn't too good. I'm not saying Dark Souls or Final Fantasy 11 is bad. I'm saying the targeting's bad. So, just this year, I handed my friend Terra Firma, my first community member ever, everything I had on this server. Everything. It was like 65,000 gold, 3 or 4 different sets for 3 or 4 different classes, like all of my loot, all of my singles, all of my stacks, all my crystals. It took like 13 transfers of 8 stacks apiece. I sent them like 110 items, and I sent them all my gil. And I was like, I'm quitting this server for the foreseeable future, if not forever. And I realized later that I was going to come back here, but it took me a long time. And I don't regret any of that, because I know. I don't regret giving any of that away. I really don't. It's not like I'm trying to hide it or deny it. I actually really like that I did that. I think he liked that I did that. And I'm actually really happy to start over clean with no money, 4,000 gil. And I actually really like the struggle more than I do sitting back in my... And I've been there before. I've sat back in McMansions before with my perfect 10 women, high on drugs, getting a blowjob in front of a fucking projector, you know, and making her scream, you know? And I've been there. I've been to the dizzying heights before. I've been rich and I've been poor. And I would say the grind back is always a lot more interesting to me. And when I get too much, I just give it away. Because to me, it's not some religious thing. It's this thing about it's sinful to me. It's like sinful. It's like a trespass you can't come back from, which is how I define sinful. It has nothing to do with God or anything. How I define sinful is it's a trespass you can't come back from. And I think it was kind of sinful. It's sinful to sit there on currency, whether it's digital game currency or otherwise, if you're not going to use it, or just let it gather dust, or let it just like gather the ages. I just don't think that's a good use of it. So one of the things that Skycat's very famous for is I'm so rich that when I meet somebody new and they evince something about the struggle that they're under, I just hand them 30 grand. I did this on Nasomi like 200 times or something, and I did this by fishing. I was able to fish for during COVID forever. I didn't have a job, so I just fished sandfish until I had like 20 million gil in loot. Anyways, I only ever kept like 6 million liquid, but I had like 20 million fucking in loot. And so handing out 30 grand to me, that was like giving away 25 minutes. It was giving, because I can make 72 grand an hour off Black Soul or Sandfish, or even more if I'm pulling the random drop from the angel skin. And this thing about like keeping that money or that loot is just worthless to me. And you know, and that's how I feel about that. So, you know, so like I'm on the grind for other people. I owe people money, and I owe my family, and I would like to see all the wrongs in my life that I've caused fixed, and it wouldn't be that much. It's like 37 grand, I think, to fix it all. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. And I don't like the trespasses. And if I had any more than that, I would just give it away, right to my friend's ashram. I would just give it away. So, you know, I want the money, but mainly so I can get out of the struggle. Once I'm out of the struggle, I'll stop asking. I mean, really. Speaking of which, guys, I am brain dead and rambling. My throat's sore, and I can't even keep talking without losing my voice. So, unfortunately, can you hear it? Yeah, I can't even talk anymore. I'm going to have to stop here. I'm terribly sorry. I'm exhausted. I've been at this, started at, I think, 7 a.m. and it's 11 o'clock at night. So, yeah, what is that? That's a 15-hour day. I only managed to get down something like, wow, yeah, I got 13 hours, which is really good when you're recording. 6 2-hour videos and 1 1-hour video. I'm going to close it here and keep it brief, you know. Skycat.live. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. Come and click on the Skycat's face to donate. I'm not an affiliate of any of these organizations, but I'm on YouTube all day. You can come find me on YouTube. And I believe that is all. I will move forward here and go to bed. And I have a social engagement tomorrow. So it will be a half day for me, which is kind of rare. And then I have another social engagement. The family's got a birthday party in a couple of days as well. And so I have kind of a busy week here where 2 or 3 of the days will be quarter days, or half days to 3/4 days. And so I'm going to bail here. But before I go, we're going to say, here we go, video capture, deactivate, big face, activate. I got that big face, yeah. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. What did we do today? We played Rust Hardcore Zombies. I played a normal weekly server, but I only made it 10 minutes before I got killed on the beach by a suppressed AK on a server that had only been open for 45 minutes. Full Metal suppressed AK in the first 45 minutes of the server, and I just left immediately. Went to Rust Hardcore Zombies for like an hour, and then I logged on New World, and I grinded New World all day. I logged on New World and Final Fantasy 11, and I grinded New World and Final Fantasy 11 all day. And I set up Horizon and got all the mods and everything taken care of. And I am, almost all taken care of. I still have some issues, obviously, but yep. And I learned that there's a new thing called Paint Mode, which has totally reinvigorated my... I suspected I might be missing something on Horizon, and I was absolutely right. It was this Paint Mode that made her look much different and much cooler in 4K. The game looks much, much better to me for some reason. So, yeah. And so then we play a lot of New World and a lot of Final Fantasy 11. As you can see, I got Beastmaster to level 8, which isn't much, but it's a lot when you're also playing New World ECR for 5 hours. I did that, and then I also farmed for 3 hours. I did an 8-hour New World shift today and like an hour-long rush shift and an hour's worth of breaks and meals and stuff, and then another 2 hours of Final Fantasy 11 or something like that. And it was a beautiful day. And tomorrow I've got a social engagement in the morning with a friend who I haven't seen in a long time. And then in a couple of days I have a family member's birthday. Well, not a family member, not a blood relative, but a family member. And yeah. And like, I don't know how many more days. I don't know. It's on my calendar, like 3 or 4 days. I don't know when it is this week. I hope it's not Saturday. It probably is Saturday, but I don't know. Whatever it is. And yeah. And so that's my vibe. That was my day. I want to say thank you One last time, guys. I just got to do the shameless self-promotion, you know? Just really do. Skycat Live, full-time variety gamer, all day, every day. Put me on the background. If I can move my mouse, I would move it and say, I love you. Thank you for hanging around. I'll see you tomorrow for a half day, unfortunately.